We're living the life, we're living it right. Voice of the people, we shining the light. Talking that real, truth on the mic. News, wellness, culture, keeping it tight. From actors to artists, we changing the game. Entrepreneurs rising, remember the name. Gina Marie Hollywood, bringing that flame. Gerald Sienna Cecilia doing the same. Buff Patterson in the frame. And the life media moments making its name. Yeah, from heart to the hustle, watch how we grow. It's the Lyfe Live. Now you know.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Lyfe Live. We have another show, another great show for you tonight. I hope y'all like our little intro. That's our second time playing it, but I kind of love that rap beat. So I hope you guys are here tonight. We have a great guest for you tonight. I know we built her as a actress, but there's a whole lot more to her story than just being an actress, and I think you're really going to enjoy that tonight. Also with me tonight is going to be Buff Patterson. So let's bring on Buff Patterson as my co-host today. She is going to have us on the stage, and she's going to have a positive media moment. Hey, Buff.
Yes, I am. Well, first of all, I think that intro is hot. What? It is fire.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
I love it. Did you do that yourself?
I did. But you know,
I just want to say, you doing it. That is beautiful. And I just want to say a positive thing before we get going. I want to sing a song. Oh, happy day.
Oh, no.
Happy
Day.
Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day.
Oh, that's back in the day.
That's a back in the day. And you know what, Gerald, we have to be thankful. Yeah. We have to be thankful for everything that we have. We have to be thankful for, I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for Life Magazine.
I'm thankful for you.
I'm thankful for Jesus is my Lord and Savior.
Amen.
Above all else, I'm thankful for the God. They say few are chosen, but we're all are chosen. All are called, but few are chosen. Right. So I thank God that I've opened the call to Him, and that's the most important thing.
Right.
And I pray that anybody that can listen to this podcast today can feel the love of what we're extending.
Exactly. I agree. And I also wanted to say, you know, there's a lot of people going through, as you know, in this age, we're all going through. The government is shut down, of which I'm one. You know, 750,000 people who have not been working for over a month now. You know, and we're coming up on the second paycheck that we're missing. So, you know, a lot of people are, you know, out of funds, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to eat, you know, how they're going to pay their bills and stuff, you know. But for me personally, I just keep trusting in God and keep moving on, you know.
Because our trust always is in Him. Good times may come or go, but God doesn't fail, right?
Exactly.
And if anything, I pray that this time opens people's eyes to things.
Right.
You know, the social media is devil. You know, and so I pray that anyone that doesn't start stealing and taking and lying, because Jesus is still on the throne. That's
still on the throne. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. But I mean, times are hard. You know, people are starting to miss their benefits now. It's gone on so long that people are starting to miss benefits now. That's starting to affect people as well. So, you know, just got to say a prayer for people and keep them strong, you know, keep them held up.
Well, I pray that anyone at this particular time, when they stop having faith in the current system we have now, that they start faith in God.
Exactly.
God will press you like grape juice. So yeah. I pray all the people that don't have funds, that they trust in God, because God doesn't, He always comes through. And that's my major thing is, okay, right. People, stop trusting in these people in government, no matter what year. I pray that we put our trust in God, and that God supplies our needs. Our community supplies our needs. So.
Right. Yeah, so let's take a second to say hi to Buff. I'm not Buff. Hi, Buff. But I met Burl and Rhonda for joining us tonight. I see them on the, you know, they're always loyal and dedicated and tuning into the show. So we want to thank you guys for joining in tonight. I think you're going to be happy about the show. But, so, Buff, why don't you tell us about your positive media moment?
Well, today is my positive media moment. This is about the Dodgers. Go Dodgers. We're back-to-back champions. I don't know if anybody's listening to this. Know that. Did you see the World Series?
I did not, but
Oh my
I
goodness!
don't watch
Oh,
baseball, but I was following it to see
it
who the
was it was
Dodgers
a
were winning.
wild action, and you know, the person I'm featuring today, his name is Mookie Betts. It's not a
Okay.
lot of Black American players on that team.
Mm,
Traditionally, Black Americans played a lot of baseball back in the day. Matter of fact, we had the
right.
Negro Leagues. And a little bit
Right.
about the Negro Leagues, they made so much money in the Negro Leagues because Black people couldn't go to the regular ones, so they would pile in, and it was so
Yep.
much money. So for Black people to actually stop being Negro Leagues and go into the regular baseball leagues, they lost money by
Right.
doing that. So this player I'm featuring, his name is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts has a foundation called the 50/50 Foundation with him and his wife. And this
Mhm.
foundation, it really helps youth in the area like mental health, financial
Okay.
literacy, and physical fitness. And he supports all the victims, all the fire victims from LA. And what makes that so important to me is that a lot of these organizations don't focus on financial literacy for children. If you could teach them in the beginning how to get their money right, they won't be so dependent. They'll know how to work. And this year he won the Roger 2025 Roberto Clemente Award for having excellence. So I was doing research while doing this, and it was talking about all these athletes that have foundations. And in looking at some of these foundations, some of them aren't as youth oriented, and they always say our future's in the youth. So
Right.
this is why I wanted to talk about Mookie Betts and his foundation and give honor to people that are giving back. You can go backward or forward. Last week we had who do we have last week? We had
Alonzo Mourning.
Alonzo Mourning that's giving to the senior community. This person is giving to the youthful community. And I think as a Black athlete, to put that much effort into it and for him to receive an award for being so, to me, is he gets to have a life positive media moment.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a kind of a Dodgers fan because my grandfather used to like the Dodgers. My uncle loves the Dodgers, and they for the same reason that they gave Jackie Robinson a chance to play. So
Was a
yeah.
great. He was a stellar athlete, and more importantly, he was a stellar man.
Hmm.
And he was the example of what when you're going through something, how you stick to it.
Right.
One, maybe one session I'll talk about Jackie Robinson, all his accomplishments. I mean, to the point where they retired his jersey across the. Everybody has a 42 retired. There is no other baseball player that has his number retired like Jackie Robinson.
Oh, okay.
It's
I didn't
42.
know that.
It's 42. There's nobody. Nope. Everybody 42. 42. That's how amazing that man was.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So
Think about it. There's no Babe Ruth. People don't talk about Babe Ruth like that.
right.
There's no Babe Ruth number. There's
Right.
42 everywhere.
Right. Okay. That'll be interesting to hear that one. All right. So we're ready for Miss Freeman.
I am ready, ready, ready.
All right, so I had this speech prepared, so so we're gonna go ahead and do this. But I think the show may go into a different direction, so let's just be ready for that. So get ready for this for a force of nature. Our next guest is literally takes on challenges. She is thing is not moving. Okay, okay, there we go. She's a decorated United States Marine Corps sergeant. Now
Wow.
that should tell you something right there. Who has spun records as a disc jockey in Japan. She's commanded the stage in over 80 productions. Has the awards to prove it, including 2 NCAA Image Awards nominations. You've seen her on everything from Seinfeld to Dexter and Shameless. She's just finished seasons 9 and 10 of Tyler Perry's Sistas and stars in the New York horror flick Don't Move. But wait, there's more. She survived 2 children and a full-on exotic zoo at home. That I gotta find out what that means, including a python and 2 dogs. So let's give it up for Miss Dee Freeman as she comes to the stage.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you having me on here.
All right. A zoo at home?
Well, I have a
Exotic.
daughter who, my daughter became interested in animals when she was like 1. And we were living in an apartment when she was 7 years old. And the managers wouldn't let us have dogs. So she asked if she could have a lizard. And he said, sure. And I thought that would, put a cap on that pot, but it didn't. Eventually, by the time she was leaving elementary school, we had 3 ball python snakes, 2 blue-headed trigomas, a tarantula named Anansi, 2 giant African millipedes, a Pac-Man frog, a bare-eyed cockatoo named Annabelle, a tarantula named Anansi, 2 dogs, and I finally had to throw my hands up. I said, at this point we had 13 animals, and a part of it was my husband, and he would let her get whatever the heck she wanted. And I told them, you bring one more animal into this house, somebody's not going to survive the night. No more animals. So for my birthday, guess what? I got a bunny rabbit. I said, you must think I'm stupid.
Your bunny rabbit.
Yeah, give me a bunny. I said, when have you ever bought me a darn bunny rabbit? So eventually I gave that bunny rabbit to a friend of mine like 6 months later and said, you guys, no more animals. It just, anytime the animals outnumber the people, it's a problem. So, but I think somebody upstairs had a weird sense of humor because I was never attracted to animals, not ever.
Right.
And, my daughter and I were at a seminar. I used to take her to a lot of seminars for animals, and a veterinarian came over to me and he said, is that your daughter? And I said, yeah, that's her. What did she do? He said, she didn't do anything. He said, she's over there. You see how excited she is running from all these different places. He said, this is the way you look. You got your mouth turned down around the corner like you just can't have it. He said, so I would tell you this, and I hope you remember it. Your daughter could want to be a lot more things less pleasant. He said, what she wants to be actually is a scientist. So he said, I think you should become her biggest soldier. And I drove home almost in tears thinking, had she picked up on that? And after that day, I became her biggest advocate. I was running her from seminar to seminar. She was, helping out on the weekends at a lot of animal places. So I think that's why God turned it around on me because, at one time, I told my sister, I said, she's too pretty to be into these doggone animals. Tell her to get away from the animals. Play with the Barbie. And we could never get her.
So what did she become a veterinarian?
No, eventually she worked at a veterinary clinic and she said, Mom, and this is the way she talked, Mom, all those people do is stay in the office all day. They don't do nothing else. I don't want to be in the office. I want to be out in the farm with my hands working because this isn't going to work for me. And so I said, you know what? Then do that. Try that. You don't have to go into veterinary science. So she worked at a vet clinic for 10 years, and then she took a break and started working as a server. But I found out that she's going back. She said, I've had a long enough and going back. So that's how it started. We had, like I said, 13 animals at one time.
Wow.
And it never, after that conversation with the veterinarian, it never bothered me. But I said, but 13 animals is absolutely enough. So that's where we begin to draw the line. I said, if I can count more than 13, like I said, the threat is out there. Somebody's going to lose their life that night. No more.
Well, we always had animals. And when after school, they let you take an animal home for the summer.
Wow.
And I got a rat, and it didn't survive.
Right.
My rat got eaten up by something else. It was crazy.
Right.
It was crazy. They gave me 3 little rats. So my house was never the house that you wanted to give something to that you wanted it back.
Right.
You want be like, keep it for a couple of days. Like this is not. You want your animal, don't leave it here. I don't know. It was the situation. So believe me, God gave y'all. And I have a dog now, and my dog trying to escape every day. He be like, I'm up out of here because y'all don't act right.
I think that's why he put my daughter in my life, to get me to turn the corner, not necessarily her, you know. So it has been absolutely wonderful because I then became an advocate. In fact, I'll tell you something that happened because of her high test scores. She was picked to march in the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. She was a member of the Young Black Scholars, which is the top 10% in the United States for scores. And we get down there and they say, everywhere she goes, she marches with one of her animals. And the woman said, you ain't marching with that thing and it's around all these kids come down here bringing something, you know, taking a chance. And I told her, I said, I tell you what, if she don't march in this parade, you're going to find out about it on Monday. My daughter is in the Young Black Scholars because of that darn lizard on her phone. Right. That lizard that she's got with her is the reason she's in this group. Her love for school is centered around her animals and her friends who are just like her. I said, so we can do this the hard way or the easy way, but I'm telling you, I'm not sitting her back, number one. Number two, I would never bring, not ever, an animal down here that I thought would hurt a child. I said, we are careful with, and she's the one knowing. She had brought her lizard, Riptar, and I told the woman, I said, turn around, look at what he's doing. He had his little head he could barely keep his freaking head up. All he wanted to do was to be out in the sun, and he got his little head resting against my daughter's. And when me and my sister ran down to the end of the block, another kid had it. He's got his head resting on the other side of his shoulders. So I said, we are educated on these animals that my daughter have. And this is what I wanted to do. And every block, one of the children had my daughter's animals. I said, these kids are not afraid of it. It's only the parents, such as yourself, who haven't been educated about it. I said, but she's going to march in this parade today because this is what they have given her for having these high scores. So we marched, and at the end of the day, the administrator came over to me and apologized. She said, you are absolutely right. So, it all worked out good, but I knew in the long run, we were not going to back off of that because, as I told her, the only reason why she's marching in this parade is because she loved school so much, mostly because my daughter is somebody who likes to teach people stuff. Like she'd tell me, did you know that a shark could take his stomach out of his mouth and rinse it out and put it back? I'm like, yeah, thanks. Glad to know that. She always was giving people tips on animals and where they were from and what they were like. So, and I learned a lot through her. So it was actually a wonderful upbringing, but I think instead of me raising her.
I think it's amazing what you said. I think I'm going to take that home with me is like when the gentleman was telling you, look at your face, look at her excitement. Right. I think every parent, that should be lodged in their head. And you as a woman and as a mother, receive that with okay, I get it. Right. Sometimes people can say something to you, you go away grumpy, like, oh, I don't want to hear that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it my way. Right. But the fact that you're able to chew on it and go home and go, wow, I never looked at it that way. I think if anything I take away from you today is how people perceive us, how we perceive ourselves, mm-hmm. and how our immediate family receives us. So I think that's a testament to your strength, that you're able to take that criticism and that hope and turn it into something you're able to give your daughter back. And I guarantee you, she probably doesn't even know that you're like, oh God, more animals. Animals. Who's gonna feed the animals?
Well, let's go back to the Marine Corps thing and then work our way to your acting career too. Okay. We definitely want to hear about that. So I thought you joined the Marine Corps on a dare.
Yes, I was at a friend's house and a Marine Corps commercial came on, and it said, they always say we're looking for a few good men, and there were 6 of us sitting in the living room, and I said, I wonder if they could use some few good women. And there was a pause, and then they burst out laughing. I'm like, girl, oh, please. You don't think you could be a Marine, did you? I said, you know what? They exercise and they work out. The only workout you're doing is running down to the mall and back. What you need to do is go down to that church and work out finding yourself a man. I was so angry. I sat there because I had known all these friends since junior high school. And I said, is that all they think that I'm good for, to run down to a darn church and work out and find a man? And I sat there and they all started laughing and talking about other stuff, but I had smoke coming out every orifice. I was so angry. And I told them, I said, you guys, that is definitely not who I am. I think I would be a great Marine. So I didn't say nothing to any of them. But was it 4 months later, they all got my letter saying, I just signed up for the Marine Corps, sucker. I leave in 2 days. And all of you doubting Thomases, trust me, you made a bet on whether or not I was, afraid or not to go. So I collected every single bet, said it's time to pay up, because you were also against me too. I remember it was only one who thought, well, maybe she could do it. But the majority of them, I mean, the laughter, I can still hear it today. And the last thing I will ever turn down, well, maybe not so much today, but back then I would never turn down a challenge. Plus, it just offended me that none of them in their thought I was worth more than going down to a mall or going down to a church and expecting some man to rescue me and save my life. And so 4 months later, I sent them the card, told them I was in the Marine Corps. But the joke was kind of on me because the first night, I think there were 68 girls in our platoon. And that night, I went to sleep listening to 65 other women, including myself, crying ourselves to sleep. I was so absolutely petrified because some of us thought, no, this ain't what we signed up for. No, wait a minute. People yelling at us and they throwing over the trash cans and, they won't give you a chance to do nothing. Everywhere you go, it was pouring down, raining. I was disoriented. And I just thought, help me, Jesus. I changed my mind. Give me a way to get out of this. But I could hear God saying, no, well, you signed on that dotted line, so you're going to find out what this is about. And that was one of the first lessons I learned. And just because something is difficult or hard or not what you expected, you've got to give it a chance. So in the background, God's saying, no, you're going to stay in there because you and I remember what happened, what pushed you into this. So you're going to stay a lot longer. And it was the best thing could happen to me because it taught me to grow up. When I first got in, I didn't know how to balance a checkbook. The first 2 weeks, my paycheck was gone. And I went to one of the commanders and she said, well, whose problem is that? You know what you got to do? Get down to the chow hall, eat some chow hall food, and learn how to balance your money until you get paid the next time. I'm like, that ain't fair. You're supposed to help me with that. She said, no, you're supposed to help yourself.
That's right.
Financial literacy. Financial literacy.
So, girl, it was the best thing because it's taught me about how to work on a team, how to perhaps not think so much of yourself in the situation you're in. Maybe there's somebody else in the team that you can help, how to stick together, how to just grow up and become a better person. It was the best thing that I ever did. And I'm so grateful today. And I've told those friends for challenging me to do it because if I learned no other lesson, I know that when I go to like an organization or a place or a new job, I know how to fit myself into it. It's not so much about me. It's like, how can I help to make this whole project thing work out now? So I'm appreciative of what happened, very appreciative.
Right. And then that brought you to DC after your military career?
Well, I had, since then, I was in Misawa, Japan for my 6th year, and I ended up marrying a Marine. And so we went to DC, and that's how I ended up at the Kennedy Center. In fact, I had been there for about probably a little bit less than a year, and I heard that they were having auditions at the Kennedy Center. And all of my friends said, girl, don't go down there. They don't hire Black actresses. What do you want to go down there for?
Another challenge.
Yeah, here comes another challenge. And I said, well, what the heck else am I doing today? What else am I doing? So I went down to audition the Kennedy Center, and it was eventually 6 auditions back to back in a row. And so I found out on the last day that I booked the job. I was the first Black actress to play that role, and it is the longest I think, non-running musical in DC. And so all of my girlfriends then said, well, they only hired you because you're black. I said, wait a
See,
minute, they didn't hire your black back
can't
in.
win if you're black. You can't
Right.
win if you're not black.
Absolutely. And I said, no, boo, they didn't hire you. Yeah, they didn't hire you. You knew all about it, but I was the one who decided to go down there. And so I offered all of my friends in my circle to come see me at the Kennedy Center. Now, these are not inexpensive tickets. And out of 2.5 years, you know how many came?
I mean,
Zero.
Wow.
I comping them, not one. I'm like, hey guys, I can comp you. I get a certain amount of comps every year. No, girl, I gotta take care of my baby. No, girl, I'm going out of town. No, girl. And I knew exactly where they were coming from with it. And I said, you know what? Doesn't matter. You know I'm in it. So that's just as bad. So we'll just let it go with that. Yeah, not
Right.
a single one came to see me.
Yeah. Burl asked, what was the musical?
Sheer Badness.
Okay.
And it's
um,
fabulous show. It's in like 30 some states, like 12 countries overseas. And they have had it out here 3 or 4 times, but for some reason it doesn't work. There are some shows that'll work on the East Coast, and some that'll work on the West Coast. That's just not one it works here, but that's okay. I had a great time while I did it.
And then
you know,
Desiree
well,
says Dee has such an amazing and colorful
yes,
history
she does.
and a lot going on this day.
Yeah,
to-
but you
on
know
this day.
what's funny? When you're living something that other people perceive as colorful,
Yeah,
you don't feel it. You
right.
just are putting one step in front of the other. You don't sit back and analyze. Like a lot of people have told me that my life is interesting. As I've lived it, it doesn't seem that way. It
Right.
really doesn't. So.
Okay. Well, how did you end up on Tyler Perry?
Well, the audition came up. My agent got me the audition, and I got the script. It was an awful lot of dialogue, an awful lot of dialogue. And I looked at the character and thought, the way it's kind of written, it's not really who I am. I'm going to take it in another direction. And I've been successful at making strong choices. So I made the strongest choice that I possibly could for it. I sent the tape in. Buffy, it was a self tape. I sent the tape in and just sit back and wait. And I hadn't heard anything after a week. And then I got the message from my agents. They said they want you to be in Atlanta in, I think it was a week and a half. They said we film a whole season in 10 days. And I went, are you kidding me? In 10 days is how they filmed Tyler Perry. And then I immediately became afraid because I'm like, oh Lord. And I looked at all the dialogue and thought, can I pull this off? Because it's massive amounts of dialogue. But I said, girl, you've been praying for this moment. So don't trip now. Get that doggone script in your hands and do what you got to do. So when I got there and I talked to the girl who plays my daughter, KJ, who plays Andy, the lead on the show, she said, you just keep doing what you did for that audition. She said, because you made a strong choice. And so I said, okay, I'll do just that. And everybody on the set, man, I can't tell you how appreciative I am for Tyler Perry. I mean, if somebody was around me dissing Tyler Perry, I'd probably smack him. What he has done for us is absolutely insane. He's giving us a platform to vocalize some of what we feel in ourselves. Who else has done that? Nobody. He's got like 8 shows on the air. I don't know how many movies he did last year. I think it was 7 or 8. And he has filled this set with a lot of people of color. And he allows us to be who we want to be. Like when I come in with an audition, if that's what they hired you for, they don't change it. They say, go with it. That's what you want to go ahead. So it was absolutely wonderful. Burl asked, how did I memorize my lines?
Yeah.
The old-fashioned way, the way I always do it. And then he came into the door. 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 That's what I have done probably the last 25 years. It's just repetitive over and over and over and over and over. I was on in a class with Eric LaSalle. You guys remember him from ER?
Yes.
And Eric told me, Dee, he said, what I do is I memorize, I memorize, I memorize, I memorize. I put the script down. I pick it back up. I memorize, I memorize, I memorize, I memorize. He says, the only way you're going to get this dialogue done, you have to inhale it ad nauseum.
That's true.
And I never forgot it. So I am appreciative of the fact that he told me what to expect. So I did this in the same way, but it didn't take away my fear because I have never had to memorize lines that much. You know, I had never had a character this big, but I found out that, yes, girl, you can do it. You can do it. And that was the biggest lesson I learned for this. I went in there with just so afraid and, you know, sweat running in places I didn't know exist. I found out you were capable of doing it. So appreciative of the lesson I learned from Tyler Perry, just, you know, taking it all in and being grateful and thankful that, you know, some people kind of close their minds to stuff or think I know best. And so I said, well, let me look at another way. And another way didn't work. What I had still worked. And so thank heavens it worked.
It's a testament. It's a testament to your creative process. And what I want to say is, Colin Powell said this. He said he was number 2 in West Point, and they said you only got it because you was black. And then they said, well, you only got it because you were black. So he said it's a double-edged sword. That they only gave it to us black, and then I didn't get it. I didn't get number 1 because I was black. I only got number 2. So I when I look at you as a woman and a God-fearing woman, I look at you. You took the risk. You put your foot out there first. When they say no, you say yes. And I think that's how we've been such an integral part of creating this country, is because people who have done it, they don't think about, they don't want me, I'm going. They didn't, they weren't talking to me. They were talking to y'all, so I'm gonna go for the audition. You know, when you did the Kennedy Center, well, they didn't hire, they wanted me because I wanted. So if the testament is to us as people, as women, or even as black people, the one that get things done, they don't, the rules don't apply to them because they're gonna get it done, Dee. And Dee said they were talking to me, all them animals in your house. Your daughter said we get animals.
Right, absolutely. So
black people like animals. So
I have learned that lesson, and I think it's ingrained in my soul and the person that I am. So that's something I learned long ago, and I really don't even know where it came from because I learned a deep lesson decades ago. I don't mind telling you guys, I just finished I did a solo show at the Hudson Theater. Shout out to the Hudson and the wonderful person, Zeke, the owner is. I wrote a solo show, I think it was 8 years ago with my friend Juliet Jefferson. And it's based on something that happened when I was, I think I had just turned 7. My father killed my mother's parents. And
your father what?
Killed my mother's parents. I lived in Louisiana in the deep South, racist South. And I had aunts and uncles who were civil rights activists. So the KKK were always gunning for them. In fact, my Uncle Willie was one of the people who opened the first NAACP in our little neck of the woods. And I didn't know anything about my Uncle Willie, except he was this little short black man who wore this little funny hat everywhere he went. But my grandfather and my father were both farmers, cotton farmers. And they both owned 100 acres of land. And my grandfather was not only a cotton farmer, he was also a moonshiner. Back then, of course, moonshining wasn't allowed. So my grandfather was also legally blind. He hated banks. But because he was going blind and he did not believe in putting his money in a bank because a bank had swindled him, he needed somebody to work with him as his eyes. I started out as a child, magnificent at counting money. I mean, it was just something I was born with. Both my grandfather and I could count money so fast in our head, we would beat somebody on a calculator. And at the age of 4, my granddaddy asked me if I wanted to be his banker. I ended up becoming the youngest banker in America because he needed somebody to count that money, and we buried it on his property. He didn't trust adults, so I would get off the school bus at my grandfather's house and go around with him. But he was a black man who didn't take any snuff from anybody. And there were all of these KKK members who felt like he was putting his foot in their backyard. Only because him and my aunts and uncles were standing up for black people was why they put an arrow on his back. So one night, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, my father came running into our bedroom, threw up the blinds, and said, "Your grandparents' house is on fire." So they lived only about a mile down the road from us. We jumped out the window, me and my sister. I slipped and fell in mud because it was raining and took off running to my grandparents' house. And I ran around all night searching for my grandparents because my granddaddy was literally my best friend. We were with each other all the time that I wasn't at school, and I couldn't find him. And then the next morning, I woke up in my bed, and my mother came in the room and said, "Both your grandparents are dead." And it didn't really rock me. It didn't resonate with me what dead meant because I watched a lot of television. And I had seen people who had died on one TV show all of a sudden come back to life, and there they were on another TV show. So the only thing I needed to figure out was how long would my grandparents be dead? So when these cops, a white cop and a black cop, came out to start investigating, when they told me they were dead, I just thought, oh, yeah, I know about that. They're in vacation, but they'll be back.
Right.
And then on top of that, someone told these cops that I was my granddaddy's banker and that he had a lot of money buried all over his property. He had 17 banks that me and him had put all over his property. And to help me memorize it, I would turn it into kind of like a poem and just go out with my granddaddy every day. He's like, "What bank we going to?" "We're going to bank number 17, granddaddy." 17 rhymes with Brill Cream. So that would let me know that it was Ed, because Ed was the only one in our area that put on Brill Cream. So that was how we developed a system of finding out what the money was. But once the cops found out, they started coming down to my grandfather's house and telling my parents that they wanted me to meet them there, but they weren't asking about the fire. These cops, once they found out my grandfather had a lot of money, they were asking me where were those banks buried. And my friends asked, "How come your parents didn't trust you?" This is back in the South where you had all of these people, and a white cop had an awful lot of power back there. There was a black cop and a white. The black was just a name only. It was the white cop who ran the show. So when everybody saw me talking to him, but they were talking to everybody else. So my parents were never told that they came to talk to me a second time. Once they realized they did, the damage had been done. Those cops talked to me like I was a POS, yelling at me for holding up the investigation because they knew I was lying to them. I was a terrible liar. And after about 6 months of interrogating me behind my parents' back, they finally gave up. And one day they said, "So tell us about the night of the fire." And that's where I had diarrhea of the mouth. I said, "Oh, yes, sir, I could tell you about it." And I just ran off and off and off, and all this vomit came out. And I could see the cops were happy. And the next morning, I ran into the kitchen, and my mother said, "They arrested your father, and you have to testify." I knew what testify meant. And I was like, "Why?" And my mind went back to the day before when they became happy over some of the stuff that I had said. So I remember my mama talking to my auntie in the kitchen, and that's when I found out. My mama said, "Well, Bo told the cops something, and so she's got to testify also." And I was just like, so it was what I said that made these cops arrest my father, and I tried to backpedal on it. I lied and lied and lied, and that prosecutor brought me in and talked to me like I was just an absolute piece of work. He said, that's not what you said, little girl. That's not what you said. You lied and you told them cops that this is what your father did and this is what somebody did. And you got to get on that stand and tell the truth or they're going to put you in jail too. They were horrific with the way they talked to me. But I then backpedaled and told the truth. And
Who killed your parents? Who killed your parents?
do they really want me to announce this over the air?
So it was the cops who did it.
The what?
The cops, the KKK killed her.
Do you want me to announce this over the air?
Probably not.
Yes.
I'll tell you after we close off the show.
Okay.
Because I put up the show.
Was your father not prosecuted?
Yes, he was prosecuted. Absolutely. So that show was something else that empowered us as a family because so many people turned against us. I mean, nobody wanted to play with, us anymore. It's like there was a stench on us. A lot of our old friends were no longer allowed to play with us. And my family and I are close today, and it goes back to that time when people turned against us, and I've never forgot that feeling of going down to play it when your long lost friends who you were, with forever, and you're no longer allowed to go down to their house. So I think that was one of the second lessons learned. The first one was the one with my grandfather. So all along there has been stuff where I've looked and said, okay, which direction do I turn? And not even realizing it, I turned in the right direction because as a child, you can't analyze that and say, I know exactly what to do. So that was my show I put up for 4 weekends at the Hudson Theater. And everybody has said the same thing to me. It's a movie, it's a movie, it's a movie, it's a movie. I said, where's Spike Lee? Tell me. Because if it's a movie, then somebody point me in the direction so I can reach out to somebody to put it up. So that was one of the lessons I learned. One of the big lessons I learned at an extremely young age and not realizing that I had taken it in. I had taken it in. So that was wonderful for me to have to go through that.
And I know that there was one other thing that you wanted to tell people tonight. So did you want to get into that?
Right. So back in August of this year, my two sisters and I and a friend went to Scotland, Ireland, London, and Wales. And I noticed when I got back that I felt like somebody had put a belt underneath my chest and was just pulling as tight as they could, and a pain in my right shoulder. And I thought, when I went to the Blarney Stone, that was, what had affected me. And I went to one doctor, and he put me on inflammation, medicine for inflammation. That didn't work. A week and a half later, I went back. Another doctor put me on something else. A week and a half later, I went back. I said, I don't know what the heck y'all doing, but whatever it is, it's not working. And so she was a physician's assistant, and she was the first one who said, you know what? Let's give you an x-ray. Give you a chest x-ray, see what's going on there. And so I got the chest x-ray, and it wasn't even 10 minutes later that she came back and said, they see a mass on your chest, you got to come back in. So I ran back in, and they did a CT scan, and they said, they see something. So we've got to do a PET scan, a C scan, MRIs. They did so much stuff to me. I couldn't keep up. But they said it would be during the PET scan that we will have probably a good idea of what you had. And they came back and said, you have 4th stage lung cancer. So I've got cancer in my right lung, a 4-centimeter mass. I got it in my left lung. I got it in my lymph nodes. I got it in my right ribs, my left ribs, someplace on my hip, and they see something on my brain. And I thought, you've got to be joking. And so how do we fight this? They said, well, we got an idea, but we'll know once the biopsy came back. So the biopsy came back, and they said, we are definitive for some of the stuff we see on your x-ray, but not all of it. So I said, so what's the game plan? They said, we're going to shoot you up with chemo and do some radiation also. And then we stand back and analyze what is happening to your body. But I discovered with some of the questions I had, some of these doctors really don't have the greatest bedside manner.
No,
They
they
truly
don't.
don't. Some of them, what they say, one of my doctors said, I said, so how long will I be getting chemo? And she said, rest of your life. I said, what? She said, rest of your life. I said, why the rest of my life? She said, because they're incurable. I would never, ever, ever in a million years say something like that to a patient because I just looked at her and I literally
Mhm.
wanted to punch her. Why would you tell somebody that? I mean, I've got nothing but doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. And I just looked at her and I said, I determine my mortality, not you. What do you mean, incurable? So that's when I went to get a second opinion from City of Hope. And that was perhaps the best person I could have seen because he told me, he said, Miss Freeman, I take away patients from Kaiser only if what the doctor is doing is against the same thing that I would do. He said, I would not encourage you to get out of there. He said, you hang in there because they are giving you the same treatment that I would have. And it was the best doctor I think I've ever met in my life. In fact, when I was leaving, he gave me a hug. I don't think any doctor, I mean, he kept fist bumping me. And he said, I had a client who came in yesterday who rung the bell and he had the exact same areas with cancer as yours did. He said, so don't give up, believe in yourself. He said, because I think you're on a good track. And that made me feel better than I'd ever felt in 3 months, which is the best news someone could have gave me. So, I am on my elevator, girl, going straight up, and I am ready to truly, truly, truly fight this because I have a close friend whose name I will not say who she is. She's a very famous actress. I'll tell you when we get to afterwards during the talk. Um, I was talking to her and she said, so what you going to do? And I said, I'm having a FU cancer tour next year. That's what I'm doing. And she started laughing. She said, where do you want to go? I said, Japan. She said, I'll make it worth your while. It'll be an all expenses trip paid on me and I'm going with you. Girl,
Mhm.
girl. I have my motivation to make it to next year. So I've got my Muhammad Ali gloves on and I said, let's do it. And she's called me. Once she became famous and won some Oscars, me and her, we were close friends for like 20 years. But when you win an Oscar, you know, you're not going to be talking to me every day like we were before. But she has been calling me like every 2 or 3 days just to check and see how I'm doing, see how I'm feeling. And in fact, my support group is probably one of the strongest support groups that you could ever, come behind you. When my friend announced it on the internet, people have come out of the woodwork. People I knew in the Marine Corps. I was a flight attendant for a minute. All these pilots and flight attendants that I flew with, some of the people from my high school, a lot of the actors I met over the year, they just came out of the woodworks. And so I was worried about announcing it. And I talked to her. She said, I think you're wrong. I think you should announce it, and you'll be surprised what people will do today. So something else that I am also grateful for that I don't have to walk this road alone. And even though I have to turn off my phone most of the time, but how you doing, girl? What you need? Where you going? Do you need a ride? I mean, you're throwing up. Do you want me to go get you some Pampers? What do you want me to do? So
Mhm.
it has been that way since I announced it, and I couldn't be happier, because instead of it being, something I want to hide my head over, announcing it has made it a lot easier. So
Right.
I think I'm in a good spot right now, and
Yeah.
just looking forward to what the future has to offer.
All right. Well, I'm sure somebody's going to benefit from that testimony too.
Definitely. That's
Um,
it's a lot of meat. It's that
yeah.
this is a casserole. This is a platter full of information, and
That's
all of this
right.
hope, all
But
of
I
this
just want to
inspiration.
tell everybody out there, get your chest X-ray. Here's the sad part about it. My niece told me 2 weeks ago that I was entitled to a chest X-ray. Do you know that was the first time I heard that? Because I'm a previous smoker. I smoked for almost 20 years, and the hospitals knew how much I smoked. No one ever told me, get a chest x ray. Wait a minute, I take that back. That's not true. They didn't tell me. All my white friends that I asked, they got that message. So here we go back to an ugly fact of our life is that a lot of times us as Black women, we don't necessarily get that message. So I don't care if you're white, Black, Asian, Chinese, whoever you are, if you smoke close to 10 years if you smoked in a household where the parents smoke, or if you were in a household where the parents smoke, get that chest x-ray, because you could have, at 4 years ago, which is what my niece told me, if they would have done a chest x-ray, we wouldn't be having this talk. We wouldn't be having it at all, because they would have caught it. So I don't understand why I didn't get that message. But my platform from now on out, get the doggone chest x-ray, because what will they cost? $4,000 in comparison to the million I'm going to need to fight this. And trust me, girl, this is no picnic to have fourth stage lung cancer. I'm tired some days. I don't want to get out of the bed some days. I mean, just all these horrific things that land at your door. And you know what? I can seem positive on here, but you're going to have your bad days. You're going to have days where you're in pain. You can't turn over in the bed because it's so painful. A chest x-ray will keep you away from this. So all of my sisters and brothers out there, I don't care what color you are, if you were a previous smoker or your parents are smokers, get the freaking chest x-ray. That's what I've been telling everybody I run into. Those are the first words out of your mouth. Did you smoke? Get the chest x-ray. So that's what I want to impart to everybody out there, to save them from having to deal with what I'm dealing with now.
Yeah. All right. And just like Shantae said earlier, I don't know if you saw that, but she said somewhere up in here in all of these messages, but she said that she was praying for you. So we're also praying for you as well.
Well,
I look forward to being one of your supporters too.
I can get. Yes,
I'll drive to Studio City. I'll drive you where you are.
Yeah.
That's right, girl. I'm not that far away. Studio City. You said Torrance? I had somebody who lived there.
I got a car. Sure, I'll get out there.
I got friends who live in Rosecrans. So
What?
I know.
Don't tell me that we'll be over there. Look, I'll bring you some nice squash soup.
But I tell you what we got to do. I still ain't learned Beyonce songs, so I've got to learn that, and I got to learn Boots to the Full. That's what we can do. We can do them doggone line dances, girl.
I love that.
I love my line dances. I'm like, yeah, teach me how to do boots to the floor, because I still ain't learned it yet.
All right. Well, thanks, Dee, for stopping by and talking to us and telling us your story. There's a lot. You got a lot of information, so
Yes.
I'm sure that a lot of people will get some benefit from that, especially the last part, because definitely go out and get those chest X-rays.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. This has been. I mean,
And Dee, don't forget to call me.
I'm gonna call you. I got your number right here, girl.
And yeah, they made a connection, y'all, before the show. So.
She did, 'cause she's amazing.
I got some tips to give you, girlfriend.
I need them.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Desiree, for another great client of yours, and then we appreciate you taking the time to get her on our show. And like I said, Dee, we appreciate you being here. So
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you both too. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right. In about 10 minutes, I'll be calling you, Buffy.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. So that was a lot of good information.
I felt like I had a history lesson. Like I felt like, you remember that movie Mary McLeod Bethune? No, was it with Cicely Tyson? Remember she did that movie?
No.
You remember that movie? Come on, you older than me. Cicely Tyson did this movie, and her life was this amazing life, and Dee's life is amazing.
Yeah.
Just from the beginning to the middle, she could do a whole series.
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate you jumping in and filling in and being a co-host tonight.
Thank you for allowing me to do so.
Right.
I love the Lyfe magazine, and I love the people that we have who are able to inspire others to be better.
Right. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We'll see you again on November the 17th. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.